Hi, welcome back to our channel, and today's tutorial will be a frame-by-frame tutorial. So I'm gonna show you my process on how I do in-betweens. So in the samples, I will be using 12 frames per second, and we're gonna start first with simple examples and then move towards more complex examples. So in frame-by-frame animation, there are two ways to animate. The first way is the straight-ahead method, and the second way is pose-to-pose. So in the straight ahead method, you start with frame 1 and then you go to frame 2 and draw the frame. And then go to frame 3 and then draw. And you do this until you reach the end. So if we're going to animate a circle moving from left to right, I'll start with frame 1, then frame 2, then so on. In pose-to-pose method, you start with the first and last frames. You call these frames as key poses or key frames. And the frames in between are called in-betweens. So you start with frame 1 and then frame 5 and then do frames 2, 3, and 4 after. So there are two ways to approach in-betweening. And the first way is what is called the halves method, and the second way is favoring. So in this video, I'm not anymore going to discuss favoring. Instead, I will focus on the halves method. So going back to our example, if we use straight ahead method, and let's say that the spacing between each frames should be equal, it's hard for you to draw the next frame. And how can you be sure you'll end up at this exact point, right? Like, where should I put the next frame? Here or here? This problem can be solved using pose-to-pose and the halves method. So let's start with frame 1 and then frame 5. These are the first and last frames. From the name halves method, we're going to draw the half of this. But instead of going to frame 2, we're going to frame 3. That's where we'll draw the half. And from here, it's much easier since we already have the location of the half. You just choose which you'll do first, the left side or the right side. I'll do the left side first. So let's go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 3. Then let's do the remaining side. Let's go to frame 4 and let's draw the half of frame 3 and frame 5. And there you go. We are able to do the in-betweens easily. Just make sure you're drawing on the correct frame. You don't want your frames to be in the incorrect order. So this is if the spacing between each frame is equal. How about we're easing in? So as you can see, we're slowing down on the end part. We're easing into frame 5. Can we still use the halves method here? Yes, we can. So we still start with the first and then the 5th frame. And then we go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 5. And then we go to frame 3 and draw the half of frame 2 and 5. Then we go to frame 4 and draw the half of frame 3 and 5. You get the idea. Now this is the result. Now let's go through this frame by frame. On frame 1, we start here. On frame 2, this is where we are. And as you can see, if we use the halves method animating in a forward way, you will see that we are effectively slowing down because we are cutting to the half the distance as we animate forward. What happens if we continue this on? So let's add a frame between 4 and 5 and let's cut the distance to half. So we now have a total of 6 frames, and this is the result. How about we add more? Let's add one more frame between 5 and 6 and let's draw the half. This is the result. I could keep on adding more to the end part, and this is going to make the ease in more emphasized. So how about easing out? So this is what we call easing out. It's because it's easing out of frame. It's easing out of frame 1. So it's slow on this part. And as you can see, the frames are a bit compressed here. Can we still use the halves method to achieve this? Yes. So still the same, we are going to start with frame 1 and 5, the first and last frames of our animation. But instead of going to frame 2, we're going to frame 4, the frame before the last frame. And let's draw the half of frame 1 and 5. And instead of animating forwards, we will animate backwards. So we'll go to frame 3 and draw the half of frame 1 and 4. And then go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 3. And this is the result. Now let's go through this frame by frame. This is frame 1, frame 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you'll notice that since we use the half methods going backwards, if we play the animation, which would be the time moving forward, you'll notice that the spacing is like multiplying from the previous spacing. And that's the equivalent of speeding up or accelerating. So what will happen if we continue animating backwards? Let's do that. Of course, we cannot add a frame before the first frame or add a frame after the last because they are the first and last frame of the whole sequence. That's why they're called first and last. If you add a frame before the first frame, then the new frame becomes the first, and that's not what we want. So let's add a frame after frame 1. And let's draw the half, and this is the result. So now we have a total of 6 frames. Let's add another. Let's add 1 frame between the first and the second frames, and in this new frame, let's draw the half. And you can repeat this as many times as you want. So you might be thinking, can we combine ease out and ease in? Yes, we can. It will actually make the animation very smooth. So it's slow at the start and slow at the end, but it's a bit fast in the middle. So let's do that. Let's try that. So let's start with frame 1 and 5. Then let's go to the middle, frame 3, and draw the half of frame 1 and 5. Now let's choose which we'll do first, ease in or ease out. So I'm gonna choose ease out first. And remember, easing out is animating backwards. So I'll go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 3. And then I'm going to add a frame after frame 1. So this will change the order of the frames. What was originally frame 2 now becomes frame 3 and so on. So I'll go to the frame which is the newly added frame and then draw the half of frame 1 and 3. So now we're done with the ease out. Let's do the ease in. Remember, easing in is animating forwards. So I'll go to frame 5 and draw the half of frame 4 and 6. Now I'm going to add a new frame before frame 6. Again, this will change the order of the frames. What was once frame 6 now became frame 7. Now I'm going to frame 6, which is the newly added frame, and then draw the half of frame 5 and 7. And we're done. This is the result. I could continue easing this, but remember, we shouldn't add in-betweens in the middle. If we want to emphasize the easing out, then we'll keep adding a frame after the first frame. And if we want to emphasize the easing in, then we'll keep adding a frame before the last frame. So the halves method isn't only for distance or position. It's not only the half of the distance, but it's actually the half of the action. So for example, closing your eyes. The first frame is we have the eyes open, and the last frame is where we have it closed. So the half of that is a half closed eyes. So let's apply the halves method on this closing eyes animation. Let's try first consistent spacing, meaning the speed is consistent from start to finish, equal spacing. So let's start with the first and last frame, and then go to frame 3 and draw the half of the action. Then let's go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 3. Then go to frame 4 and draw the half of frame 3 and 5. And this is the result. Now let's try easing in, which is slow on the last part. Let's start with the first and last frames, and then let's go to frame 2 and draw the half of the action. Again, if the ease is ease in, then we animate the in-betweens forwards. So next we go to frame 3 and draw the half of frame 2 and 5, and then go to frame 4 and draw the half of frame 3 and 5. And this is the result. Again, you can continue adding to the second to the last frame to have a more smooth ease in. Now let's try easing out, which is slow in the beginning. So same with the previous way we have done things. We'll start with the first and last frames. Then let's go to the second to the last frame and animate the in-betweens backwards. So let's go to frame 4 and draw the half of the action. Then let's go to frame 3 and draw the half of frame 1 and 4. And then go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 3. You can continue easing out by adding to the second frame and draw the half. Now let's do the combined easing. So let's start with the first and last frames, and let's go to frame 3 and draw the half. I'm going to do easing out first, so I'll animate backwards. So I'll go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 3. Then I'm going to add a frame after the first frame. I'm going to go to frame 2, then draw the half of frame 1 and 3. Now I'm going to do the easing in part. So I'm gonna go to frame 5 and draw the half of frame 4 and 6. So now I'm going to add a frame before the last frame. So in this new frame, I'm going to draw the half of frame 5 and 7. And we're done. We can continue easing in or continue easing out. So let me do that. I'm gonna continue easing in and easing out. And this is the result. So we've done simple examples so far. How about a bit more complex, like closing the hand into a fist? Can we still apply the halves method? Yes. So first, let's identify the first frame, which is an open hand. And the last frame, which is the closed hand. So if this is the first frame and this is the last frame, what's the half? Let's think of this not in terms of distance or scale, but in terms of half of the action. So this is the action. If we pause midway, what would it look like? So this is the half. Now that we have established the first, middle, and last frames, it's now easier to visualize the rest. So let's try first the consistent spacing. Let's do the first and last frames. And let's go to frame 3 and draw the half of the action. Then let's go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 3. And then go to frame 4 and draw the half of frame 3 and 5. This is the result. Now let's try easing in. Let's go to frame 1 and draw the first frame, and go to frame 5 to draw the last. Then let's go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 2, and then go to frame 3 and draw the half of frame 2 and 5. Then go to frame 4 and draw the half of frame 3 and 5. This is the result. And again, I could continue Continue easing in, and this is the result. Now let's try easing out. Let's draw the first and last frames, and let's go to frame 4 and draw the half of frame 1 and 5. So this is animating backwards. Then let's go to frame 3 and draw the half of frame 1 and 4, and then let's go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 3. And this is the result. And I could continue easing this out, and this is the result. Next, let's combine ease out and ease in. Let's draw the first and last frames, and then let's go to frame 3 and draw the half of frame 1 and 5. Let's do ease out first, so let's go to frame 2 and draw the half of frame 1 and 3. Let's add a frame after frame 1, and on this new frame, let's draw the half of frame 1 and 3. Let's do easing in. Let's go to frame 5 and draw the half of frame 4 and 6. And let's add a frame before the last frame, and on this new frame, let's draw the half of frame 5 and 7. Let's continue easing in. Let's continue easing out. And this is the result. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and here at Plain Simple, we have a mission to make animation as accessible and as easy to understand as possible for everyone. So I hope you were able to do that today. Also, if you want to learn frame-by-frame animation, if you want to learn more about it, we have classes on Skillshare that are meant for beginners. The link is in the description below. I think Skillshare is a very accessible platform. Depending on which country you're on, I think the pricing ranges around $7 to $10 a month. And it's not just our classes you'll have access to, but you also have access to all of the online classes that are hosted on Skillshare. So with that price point, I think that's already a good deal, and it's an affordable way to learn. Also, if you use the link in the description to sign up, then you'll get 1 month free trial of Skillshare. That's for free for 1 month. And you can cancel anytime if you don't like it. So I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your time. Please give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope I'm going to see you in the next video. Thanks, and bye-bye for now.